Your Monday morning newspapers, going through those for us this morning. Chris Akabusi and Dawn Neeson. And Chris, you want to talk, which I think, if I was an MP, this is what I'd do. You have a slim majority, you've got to defend your majority. It's coming up to election time within the next year. I'll be spending less time in London and more time in my constituency, which is what they seem to be doing.
Absolutely. I mean, my question would be, why are you not doing it anyway? I mean,
yes.
You are an MP, you've got a local constituency, why are you not in it anyway? But okay, so the Tories have woken up to that. They've got something called the 80-20 campaign. That is the 80 most tight and marginal seats. They want those MPs to spend 20% of their time in the local community, and they're hoping to win 20% of those seats. So they're marginal, but they want to make the go of winning 20% of those seats. They say, act like a local councillor. No, don't act, be one. So you expect your local MP, if you've got a marginal seat, to be kissing babies, going to fetes and...
But I suppose they've got to be in Westminster for votes and things like that.
Yes, yeah.
Committees.
Yes, yeah, of course they've got a real job to do in London, but a lot of them have the London tours, etc., and neglect...
Yeah.
I mean, how often do you see your local MP?
Well, this is a very good point, because he's a cabinet MP, and my point is it must be very difficult on them if they've got the added responsibility of sitting in cabinet and talking about Russia and whatever, as opposed to talking about potholes.
Yeah, sure. But you can find a day in a week to be in your locality. You know, it's your local party chairman that's elected you, it's the people there that have supported you. You need to be there. We need to see, you've got to raise your visibility. And that's what the Tories are going to do.
And the Tory MPs will be more than aware of those looming by-elections, 4 of them coming up.
Yes,
it's not looking good, is it?
No, it's not looking good for them. And, well, you know, who knows? I mean, when John Major went into the last election in 1992, was it? Labour had a huge lead then in the polls, and yet John Major won it for the Tories. So it's not a foregone conclusion, but as you say, you know, the by-elections, Ellie, but people will always in a by-election vote against the government, won't they, no matter what their local councillor or their local MP is like. So it's not necessarily a predictor of what's going to happen in the general election. But
Dawn, let's talk about shrinkflation and how it affects wine and alcohol. This affects beers as well. I've heard this and I've seen this happening with ciders, with beer, with wine as well. What's going on?
Yeah, well, basically what they're doing is to save themselves money and increase their profits still. What they're doing sneakily is they're actually charging the same price for a bottle of wine or a bottle of beer, but making less alcohol available in it. So rather than a bottle of wine being, I know this off by heart, rather than a bottle of wine being sort of like, you know, 12, 13%, it's now sneakily, if you read the small print on the bottom of the label, which I do, it's now 11%, but the same price. So less alcohol, still charging the same amount of money.
But they pay less duty on that to the government.
They do, yes, indeed. Yeah. There is that line as well. But it's just like, you just feel like, how much money are they making in profits, all these companies now as well? And the supermarkets are doing it as well, aren't they? It's like, you know, there is a cost of living crisis. Of course there is, but how much money are supermarkets actually making by profiteering on these things?
They say 3%. They'll have a 3% margin. Well, that's like, so for every £100 you spend, they make £3 on it.
But you know what, Eamonn? What I don't understand is how some supermarkets have managed to actually reduce the prices of their basic goods this year. I mean, I think Lidl and Aldi were 2 of the ones, obviously the budget change. And even Waitrose have kept prices fairly stable, and yet others have had to put their prices up by 3-4%. So it doesn't, and the rest. But it doesn't actually make sense why some supermarkets can do it and others can't.
Yeah.
Well, they might have different distribution costs, etc., etc. But that's
and the poor farmers and manufacturers are the ones who get squeezed on this as well.
That's exactly it, Eamonn. It's actually the suppliers, and in particular the farmers. And there was a story about milk supply as well. They just supermarkets are ripping off the suppliers.
With that story, though, I was wondering whether the difference in percentages actually affects the tastes, and whether you would go for a weaker wine, and if so, when would you go for a weaker wine? I was thinking, like, in the hot summer days, maybe you can have a glass or 2 of wine before you come to work in the afternoon, because it's half the cost. But if it doesn't taste very nice, then it's not worth drinking.
What is this weaker wine you speak of? It's not happening. It's not happening.
It's not good, though, is it? I mean, it feels like we're being fleeced every which way, isn't
Yeah,
it? We're
exactly,
in the supermarket at the
Ellie.
moment, and that's
Yeah.
the thing that people are feeling, isn't it, in their pockets when they go to the supermarket and you
Oh,
walk
yeah.
around with a basket of food.
Let's talk about mushrooms, because we're not being fleeced by mushrooms.
There's a seamless link, isn't there? Right. OK, this is a story from the Daily Star, and it is basically a private school child who wants to identify as a mushroom. Now, the school hasn't been identified, but it's a senior school, and basically critics are saying this has got to stop now because, you know, we've had all the recent stories about kids identifying as mostly cats, it seems to be, for some reason. But this one, it wants to be identified. And look, these children either have mental health issues, in which case they need help and support, not adults condoning their behaviour and encouraging it, or they are just literally taking the mickey out of the adults around them. Now, the reason this child might be identifying as a mushroom is because it might be linked to the Super Mario Brother character, which is obviously a mushroom. I have no idea. But it's just like, can we just stop actually encouraging children?
Indulging them.
Indulging them, that's the word I'm looking for, Eamonn.
Should you not
It
be sort of
really
like
is.
phoning for mental health or something if you have a pupil that says, I am a mushroom today, or I am a pussycat, rather than saying, yes, of course you are, meow,
exactly.
you should be saying, get me the number of the doctor.
Yeah, because
here."
if the child genuinely believes that, and I think a lot of them are maybe now sort of like joining some sort of trend or just taking the mickey, it's like support them with mental health because that's what they need.
Come on, if all of us were at school now, well, I know me and Akabusi up here would say, what are you today, Chris? I am a pussycat. And I'd say, I'm a rabbit or I'm a fox. I'm going to eat you or whatever. And you would be doing it to waste time in the class,
Yeah,
to mess about,
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
Would you be
Distracting
very well
Distraction.
behaved to not do that?
Well, no, but we had a girl at school that identified as a cat, but she was just bullied.
Yeah.
Which is the way it used to be. Whereas I don't think you'd be...
She actually identified.
Yeah,
as a
she had
cat.
a little bell, and she'd run along the corridor.
Wait a minute.
With a little bell on.
What year was this?
Oh, she was year 7, so 11 years old. I mean, too old for any of
No,
that.
so how long ago? 20 years ago?
No, it was last year. I mean, Ellie is
Yeah, it was
very
last
young.
year, Eamonn.
So
Yeah,
this is
for-
not a new thing. So people did go
Yeah,
around
it's
and
been
did.
going on. Yeah, but it wouldn't have been accepted, and the school wouldn't have called her a cat.
Yeah.
There would have
But
been
she would have been
indulged
bullied
her,
for
yes,
it. Yeah, so, I mean, things
Yeah.
have changed in the last however many years.
But funny, they do have that phrase in Belfast. You're a wee cat, you are. Like, it's a derogatory term.
Yeah,
You know.
it means you're like...
You're horrible.
Yeah, not very nice.
You're a little cat.
I just think if you've got a child identifying as a cat in the classroom and another one identifying as a dog, what's going to happen?
And it's a massive
You're gonna fight
distraction
like
for
cats and dogs.
learning as well.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
I want to talk about trampolining now at this was at Glastonbury, was it?
It was, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Right, so tell us more.
Just in case you think that Glastonbury has gone fully corporate, it hasn't. There is still that hippie vibe going on, Eamonn, and there is an area there for naturists. It's behind a very high fence, and you know you can go there and you can sort of like have a giant whirlpool bath thing, which just sounds horrible with lots of other naked people, and you can also do trampolining. Naked.
Oh, dear.
And Chris did volunteer
Yeah,
to
right.
demonstrate this for us.
Yeah,
But we persuaded him not to. Obviously, the wine wasn't quite strong enough. But I just want to ask, what is it with naturists and bouncy sports? Why do they
Must
always
enjoy it.
But I mean, it's not going to be comfortable,
No,
is
that
it?
wouldn't be very...
But this is why you were meant to be demonstrating, just to prove how uncomfortable it was.
Could I have my jockstrap on, please?
No, naked.
You'd die
The
of
clue's in the
whiplash.
naked. But evidently, it was very popular because it was very hot down at Glastonbury. So lots of people wanted to get into the naturist area and sit in a giant bubble bath with other naked people.
Sweaty naked people.
people.
No.
Yeah, from a trampoline.
So you would listen to the music and naked trampoline, or listen to the music. Sorry. Naked trampoline instead of listening to the music.
Yeah, well, you can hear the music as well, but you're not obviously at the front row watching the acts. You are bouncing up and down naked on a trampoline. And the high fences just weren't quite high enough to stop the people bouncing very high. So you might have got an eyeful if you were on your way to see Elton John.
Well, I'm
Imagine
sure.
walking past that.
No, thanks.
Yes, I'm
Catch
sure
an
it
eyeful.
feels very free.
Oh, dear.
There
It's
you are.
very uncomfortable, isn't
Yeah.
it? Whether you're a boy or a girl.
Guys,
Or
thank
even
you.
that.
Thank you very much indeed. Before actually we move on, I wonder, did either of you have a view on Prince William and his initiative for homelessness?
I think it's fabulous. It will be a phenomenal legacy. It will be Prince William following in his footsteps of his mother, who introduced him and his brother to the homelessness in 1993. Centrepoint, correct. That's exactly. And making them aware how, and like all of us, we've got our own home and. Safety, security, place to belong, and other people who are not as fortunate ourselves. And he's instigating something where he's been materially involved. He's donating £500,000, and over the next 5 years, hoping to create a model that can be replicated throughout the nation. So
good luck to him.
Yeah, well done.
Good luck to him, guys. Thank you very much indeed, Dawn,
Thank
Chris.
you very
Pleasure
much.
having you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.